Harsh, in India, there's going to be this particular mindset that's going to come, and it's going to be based on a new form of negationism. And he's like, "What do you mean negationism?" So I was like, "First, let me tell you where I learned the term from Dr. Konrad Elst." So Dr. Konrad Elst had a while ago, long time ago, written on the negationism of the record of Islam in India, right? If people remember, it's a wonderful book, and he said it beautifully. How in India there is a conscious effort from what is loosely called the left in India that negates the record of Islam in India and Islamism in India in very particular. So if somebody was to point out
Right.
about the atrocities committed by the Mughals or the Timurids or the Turks or whatever we want to call them, they are denied. They're like, aisa kuch nahi tha. Everybody was holding hands and singing kumbaya and dancing in the aisles, or the Punjabis were doing balle balle, or the Southern Indians were doing their own version of whatever they were doing. So it's always been like that. And I remember telling Harsh, and unfortunately Harsh is not here, otherwise he would have backed me up on this one. But I said there is a negationism that is happening in India parallelly. And he was like, और कौन सा negationism है? He was like, this is usually I was like, the record of casteism in India and where it
Yeah.
originates, how it originates, and there is a very solid academic. I don't mean to say this in a pejorative way. Let me be very clear. I mean to say this in a very serious way and appreciative way. That there is a solid academic effort to deny this record of casteism in India, and the denial is going to come not from the left. It is going to come from what I like to call the non-left. So if I was
Right.
to be very honest, I trace it back to at least 30, 40 years since a serious academic effort started from the what is loosely called the non-left academic Hindu side, where, and I don't like taking names because that's not my nature.
Sure.
मैं नाम लेना पसंद नहीं करता हूँ.
Sure.
But serious books started being written with a very honest and a very well-meaning purpose. First of all, the purpose of writing those books was very honest and very well-meaning. And it was looking at the discourse on caste. And let me tell you, a lot of things that were pointed out in those works were actually legitimate also when
Right.
it comes to the discussion around caste. But what has happened is, like, everything percolates into its straw man. You know how everything has a straw man version. And usually the straw man versions come in the pop culture, right?
Yeah.
See, pop culture में कैसा होता है? Pop culture में there is no nuance. Pop culture में there is only the generalized version. And what happens is, what happens in the academic level then gets picked up, and and then people do what is commonly called court mining.
Hmm.
So how, I'll give you an example. Ambedkar is a classic case of court mining in India.
Yeah.
Every
Over
side
abused.
uses Ambedkar.
Yeah.
Every side uses Ambedkar. So the non-left will use Ambedkar and his book on Pakistan, right? They will use his book on Pakistan. They will completely ignore Ambedkar and his views on Hinduism.
Yeah.
It is like, अरे नहीं नहीं, ये थोड़ा ना book है, ये book है. And the left will completely ignore Ambedkar's views on Pakistan, and they will only talk about his views on Hinduism. So it's
Yeah.
very common So I believe that this negationism, in my view, at a serious academic level, when it comes from the because see, let's be very clear, we're talking about non-left negationism and denialism. The left is not denying casteism in India.
Yeah.
the,
Absolutely. They're not.
it, they're not. The left is denying Islamism in India. So we have to be very clear that the non-left is
Hmm.
trying to, and I'm not saying the serious academics are trying to deny the record of caste in India, but what happens in the percolation and the pop culture level and the strawmanning of their arguments is a serious denialism of casteism is happening. And I personally feel it is based out of no evidence at all.